Open the school board meeting for December 16th, 2024 for the ISD 361 regular school board meeting. We're going to call this to order, and I'll do roll call. Jessica Crosby?
Here.
Dale Johnson?
Here.
Tony Corpy? Not here. Bruce Raboin?
Here.
Tina Sather?
Here.
Roxanne Skogstad-Deach? Here. Joanne Smith?
Here.
Beth Shermone?
Here.
Joe Sullivan?
Here.
Okay, we'll stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, oh, I better
You better turn your
turn
mic on.
this on, I'm sorry. Okay. We are now, I am going to ask for the approval of the agenda as presented. Could I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're now into, I'm sorry, we needed to discuss it just a bit. Do you want to discuss the pause?
Yes, so tonight at 6 o'clock, we have CISO, our financial team, who will be presenting our truth and taxation meeting at 6 o'clock. So at that time, if we're not to that point on the agenda, we'll transition into that presentation, and then we'll come back to where we left off in the agenda, and we do not need a motion to do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
We are now at open forum, the Elk Student of the Month.
I would like to introduce our first Elks winner for this month, Brendan Scholler. Brendan, come on up. Brendan, I'm going to have you stand right here. Yep. Oh, good thing you're nice and tall. Brendan has been selected by a committee of teachers. He was nominated and then also voted as an Elks recipient. I asked Brendan to list any activities that he has participated in at Falls High School. And he has participated in band, pep band, cross country, trap shooting, swimming and diving, track and field. And I think you have swimming tonight, so we'll get you back there soon. When he's not in school, he enjoys fishing on Rainy River and Rainy Lake, as well as working on things in his garage. His main focus outside of school is restoring his 1998 Polaris XC700 snowmobile. Very impressive. His future plans are to attend Minnesota North's Eveleth campus to pursue a degree in welding. And Brendan's teachers had some nice things to say about him. Mr. Sandberg wrote, "Brendan is an excellent role model for other students. He is always prepared for class, driven, dedicated to always do his best work, and willing to share his thoughts. He has been a captain for cross country, swimming, and track and field. In this role, he has shown fellow student athletes how to both be an excellent student and an excellent role model. His skills will allow Brendan to contribute to be a contributing member of any community in the future." Mrs. Rudolph wrote, "Brendan has always been a good student. He has a sweet, friendly personality and gets along well with everyone. He's very conscientious about his work and would help anyone in need. He's a wonderful role model for our younger Broncos." Congratulations, Brendan. I'm just have you step aside because we're going to get a picture with our second recipient. And I'm happy to announce our second recipient, Riley Carlson. Come on up, Riley. And I'll have you stand right over here. This is Riley Carlson. I had the great privilege of having both of these boys in school too. This is Riley Carlson. And Riley is involved in trap shooting and baseball at Falls High School. And when he's not in school, he likes to spend all of his time hunting and fishing. He lives in the right place. After high school, he plans to pursue an associate's degree at Minnesota North. And Riley's teachers had some really nice things to say about him as well. Mr. Sandberg wrote, Riley is a deserving of Student of the Month for many reasons. He is a student who is prepared, organized, dedicated to quality work, and always produces work that is of exceptional quality. I've had the pleasure to get to know him over the past 2 years. He is a true example of a quiet leader who is respectful and kind to others. He will be very successful in his next chapter in life. Mrs. Manassa wrote, it has been a joy to be Riley's math teacher for the last 2.5 years. I've been impressed with his natural intelligence and drive to challenge himself. This is matched only by his remarkable work ethic. Even with a successful high school career, Riley remains humble, kind, and always willing to help others. It has been a privilege to witness his growth and dedication, and I look forward to seeing all he accomplishes in the future. Riley Carlson.
Okay, and now it's time for the public open forum. Has anyone filled out a form to do that? No? Okay. Next, we're on to the audit presentation.
Hi, everybody. Our tech person, Mike Bleasy, is just working on a few things. We're trying to get you up online. So if you could just hold tight for a few more minutes, that'd be great.
Perfect.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, so we can go for it.
Go ahead. Okay, so we are now ready for Joe Sullivan. Do you have a committee report?
I do. Alrighty. Well, as the holiday break approaches, the students and staff have been busy. Like the student council, who hosted their food drive in November. In total, 115 pounds of food were collected. Of course, there were prizes for the classes who had the most donations. In third place, with 17.5 pounds of food, the Falls High Choir. They will be getting cookies. In second place, with 30 pounds of food, Mr. Dowdy's class. They will be getting donuts. And finally, Mrs. Boyle's class in first place with a total of 35 pounds of food. They will be getting a class pizza party. And all the food that has been donated will be given to the Couchiching County Food Access. On November 26th, the Student Council hosted the annual Turkey Bingo. Prizes were given for first through sixth place. In first place, winning a class pizza party was Mrs. Peterson's class. The winning classes had fun running down to the office and announcing their bingos. On December 7th, the Falls Figure Skating Club held their winter formal. Around 60 to 70 kids attended, and fun was had by all. The Student Council started this week off with Pajama Monday. Throughout the week, they will host Ugly Sweater Tuesday, Candy Cane Wednesday, Elf Day Thursday, and finally on Friday, Santa Hat Day. Also, this morning, Kate gave out donuts before first hour to remind the kids before the holidays that they are appreciated before going on break. On Friday, December 20th, Kate will host their Crazy Cake Night from 4:30 to 6:30 at the Falls High School. The night brings fun and games as well as prizes and awareness that fun is always possible without alcohol and tobacco. If you have walked through the Falls High hallways, then you might have noticed the festive doorways, which are part of the holiday door decorating contest. On Wednesday and Thursday this week, staff and students will be given a tour to view and vote for their favorite doors. The prizes consist of credits that will be used for the classrooms so that they can purchase new things. And of course, we wish everyone a very restful holiday this year.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready for the, no. Okay, Melissa Tate, elementary principal.
Our enrollment is at 438, which is the same as it was last month, although we did have 2 students who recently moved back to a different state that they had come from, but we had 2 new students come in as well, so it was a wash. So we're at 438. We have just completed our winter screening, so now this week we're holding our half-day data meetings to analyze our results and make any necessary changes to our core instruction or our intervention groups that we have going, and that's underneath our MTSS cycle. We are very appreciative of Falls Education Foundation for all they do for our kids in our community. We're so appreciative of all their grant funding that they did this round for Falls Elementary kids. And then in January, since it's not typical to really do the data in December, but we did that last year and we really liked doing the screening in December so that we could hit the ground running in January and have more time for instruction and intervention with our students before our MCA test comes. So in January, we'll be able to hit the ground running with our second round of intervention data cycles. And then I can't remember if I talked about this or not, but our PBIS team has met, and right now our school is doing a golden plunger challenge. I don't know if I talked about that, but the hallways are divided into gold, purple, and white hallways based on areas of the school, and we are working on keeping our bathrooms clean and tidy, and it actually is providing quite a bit of incentive for our students. And right now, for the month of November, it was the gold hallway, which is the upstairs hallway. We'll get a cotton candy party. And then we'll see who wins in December to get the cotton candy party. And we have a beautiful golden plunger in our office if you are interested in what it looks like.
Perfect.
Everybody wants one.
Hey, just a few updates from Falls High School, and I want to start off by thanking Falls Education Foundation for the generous grants to support our Falls High School teachers and students. The generosity is amazing, and it's really a huge support for us. Due to the hefty agenda this evening, I'll keep it short, but I will have a more detailed report in January. So just one thing, we are starting to discuss classes for next year. We sent out a survey to our students, grades 9 through 12, asking about electives they might be interested in taking. Mr. Grewatts and I will be processing through the data we collected, and we'll be gearing up to come up with our course offerings. Our leadership team, in conjunction with some parent feedback and suggestions, are working on ideas for a registration night and how we can improve and refine that process, clarify that for parents and students, making sure they know all of their options and what they need to take. So we're very excited about some changes and course offerings on the way, so stay tuned. The second thing I'd like to mention is that we are excited that our Bronco Power Store is officially in the works. We've secured funding, and again, grateful to the Falls Education Foundation for the donation so that we can work on our store. The tickets are handed out to students when they demonstrate behaviors from our Power Matrix, and our students are acknowledged for that very specific behavior, and then they can use the tickets to purchase items in our store. So we are busy getting that ready. To keep the momentum going before our Power Store opens, we have held hot chocolate carts the past 2 Fridays during all 3 lunches as a fun way to celebrate positive behavior and just keep our students engaged. And our staff is a large part of making this successful. So each month we will honor a staff member of the month for supporting our students. And Lori Yuso was honored as our December staff member of the month. Very deserving. And finally, our numbers report. We are up 2 students at Falls High School. We are down 4 students at the Alternative Learning Center. So overall, we have 511 students total at the ALC in Falls High School.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to now look at our audit presentation. Beth, do you need this? No.
Are they on the big screen now? Can you let them in through Google Meet link?
Missy, do you want to close that door?
Oh. Kleenex. Do you need one? No, I'm good now. It's just being outside. Yeah, Chopper. No. Megan or Brenna used to chew on hers. Those thumbs. Up to your mouth. I think you need to be sharing the presentation. Just get them up and I'll share it, won't they?
So we're sharing it. We're doing technology. So, blessing and a curse, right?
Could be some buzz every day.
Are you able to hear us?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Can you say something back so we can see if we can hear you?
I mean, on the TV. Oh, there you go.
It should be voting. Can you hear? Can you speak now?
Can one of you say something to see if we can hear you?
There we go. No, I understand.
Jason, can you say something on my phone to see if we can hear you?
You might not be out of here by 7, Bruce.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, watch me.
Can we do anything on the consent agenda or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I can give my
can do my.
Jessica, can you hear me now, or can you speak? Can someone speak now?
There.
Yep, we can hear you now.
Now we just need a little louder.
I don't know how it's gonna do. It's coming through the speaker and not-
Should we put a microphone by it?
I'll
or-
put the microphone back. See what happens.
Okay, we have your presentation up.
Okay, perfect. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for having us tonight. Sorry about all the technical issues. So we did get done with the audit. We have the big report done and completed. You should have a copy of that. And then we also created a PowerPoint as we've done in the past. So we'll go through the PowerPoint. Again, just feel free to speak up if you have questions. We can always stop and answer them as we go. So we'll go through the PowerPoint. If we start on page 2, required communications. So our primary responsibility as auditors is to provide an opinion on the fairness of the financial statements presented today. We do review internal accounting controls. We want to make sure that they're in place and that they're working. We don't test every transaction. We do some detail level transaction testing and then some comparisons current year to prior year, and then current year to budget. If anything looks out of the ordinary, we do more work on those sections as well. The district spent more than $750,000 of federal awards, so we did perform a federal award compliance audit over that money. Significant accounting policies, those are going to be outlined in Note 1, and there were no unusual transactions noted for this year. So page 3, there are management judgments and accounting estimates within the bound document. There were no disagreements with management. Page 4, I'm just going to go through these very quickly. No difficulties encountered in performing the audit. We were able to receive all of the information that we needed to complete it. Corrected and uncorrected misstatements. So the district is passing on the subscription-based information technology arrangements. They are immaterial overall. So the management decided to go ahead and pass on those. We had a few corrected audit adjustments to state aids and property taxes. So the next page, page 5, a brief overview, the summary of the audit results. So the financial statements, we issued an unmodified or a clean opinion, so highest level of assurance that us as auditors can give. We did have 3 material weaknesses. Preparation of financial statement, just saying that we prepared the bound documents that you received tonight. Lack of segregation of duties, we'll continue to monitor that as you have a little bit of outsourcing there and see what we can eliminate from that. And then the audit entries, which I would expect would go away as well with more time from the outsourcing. One significant deficiency, journal entry approval. We just want to make sure that all of those are getting approved and that you also have documentation to support those entries.
What is that? Did you hear that question?
What is that?
Yes.
The finding for the journal entry?
What is the journal entry? What does that mean?
Okay. So it's taking money and moving it maybe to a different account. So this one specifically related to federal awards. So it was a reclass entry between one code to another one to get it to the federal expenditures. And there was just no backup or support provided for that specific entry.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's just due to turnover and being able to find that documentation. We did test it and we agreed that it was correct. We just couldn't find the support behind it.
Okay, thank you.
Is that up for board approval?
Perfect.
No, I don't think so.
And then the uniform grant guidance, so that's the single audit that I had mentioned. We did test the education stabilization funds, and that was the journal entry that we noted that didn't have proper approval. But overall, otherwise, clean audit reports in that sense. Now remember, your education stabilization funds are going away. This will be the last year that those will be tested. Minnesota Real compliance, we have to test long checklist. We noted just 2 findings here. Deposits and investments just need an approval of a safekeeping. I believe that will be corrected next year, so that will be removed. And then the contracting and bid laws, we just need to see the responsible contractor verification going forward. Again, we've let management know of this and expect it to be corrected for next year as well.
What does that mean, like background checks on contractors or what?
No, it's just a document that the actual contractor has to sign, just saying that they're in compliance with certain items.
Okay. So we're really gonna have to pay attention to that this year. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, you want to make sure, yep. And then I could also shoot you some state statutes if you need more detail on that. You
That's
can
okay.
just reach out to us.
Thank you.
Perfect, then I'll let Becca take over the next couple of slides here on page 6.
So page 6 here, this slide shows the revenues and expenditures and fund balances for the general fund over the past 5 years. So in fiscal year 24, revenues exceeded expenditures by about $1.4 million.
That's good.
So we did note that revenues increased overall from the prior year by about $1.1 million. So this was going to be due to an increase in that general education aid and special ed aid that was received in the current year. And then there were also some new revenue sources received this year with library aid, student support aid, and then the hourly worker unemployment aid. And then we also noted that expenses increased by approximately $267,000 from the prior year. This was mainly just due to those cost of living adjustments that we tend to see to occur from year to year. And then at the bottom here, you can see that total revenues exceeded budget, whereas expenditures were actually under budget this year. So your budget to actual report looks pretty good for the current year. And then we also noted that the district policy that is currently in place is to have 2 to 3 months of operating expenditures within that general fund unassigned and committed fund balance combined. So that's going to be your $3.2 million and then that committed fund balance line item of $1,600. So those combined is currently about 2.76 months of expenses. So the district is currently within policy and is sitting good for the general fund unassigned balance. So then moving on to the next slide, so slide 7. So this is your debt service fund. In fiscal year 24, revenues exceeded expenditures by about $37,000, which caused an increase in fund balance. Revenues were about $111,000 higher than the prior year, and this is just with the student meals being free with the state reimbursement this year for fiscal year 24. Expenditures were also about $97,000 higher than the prior year. This was going to be due to your wage and benefit increases, and then there was also an increase in student participation with the student meals being free, and then just an overall increase in inflation prices. And then overall, the food service fund was budgeted for about a loss of $8,000, but revenues actually exceeded budget by about $40,000, and expenses were under budget by about $6,000. So there was an excess of revenue over expenditures. Then moving on to the next slide. So this is going to be for community services fund. So in the current year, this month revenues exceeded expenditures by about $12,000. So revenues overall were $38,000 higher than the previous year. So this is primarily due to an increase in pathways funding received by about $33,000. And then I did note that last year the district did receive about a transfer from the general fund of about $28,000. This was just due to the write-off of preschool fees in the prior year. So just with state guidances, the general fund has to transfer that money in order to write off those balances. So that's what that, you'll see overall that just the change of revenues to expenditures from the prior year don't line up completely, and that's going to be because of that $28,000. Expenditures were about $33,000 less than the previous year. So there were a couple of staff members that were being paid with those ESSER funds in the previous years with the summer school program that we didn't see in fiscal year 24. And then I believe there was another employee that was also coded into the general fund this year that was previously coded into community services fund, which caused that decrease. So overall, the fund was budgeted for revenues to exceed expenditures by about $19,000. However, they only increased by about $12,000. Revenues were about $23,000 more than budgeted, and expenditures were $29,000 more than budget. Then moving on to the next slide. So this shows your debt service fund and then the capital projects fund. So the capital projects fund was closed back in 2021 when those funds were all used up, but this was just showing the previous 5 years, so you'll see that listed on there still. And then for the debt service fund, so the revenues exceeded expenditures in the current year by about $28,000. So revenues were about $30,000 higher than the prior year. This is just with an increase in state aid that was received in the current year. And then their expenditures in this fund followed the debt payment schedules for the current year. Then moving on to the next slide. So this is a graph that is breaking out your revenues in the district by source for fiscal year 24. So you can see here that the biggest source of revenue for the district is going to be your state aid. So that's about 59% of revenues, followed by taxes at about 22%. So these two sources are very consistent with the previous years. And this is very typical of what we see at most districts. So there was nothing unexpected here. Then moving on to the next slide. So this is those same breakout of revenue by sources. This is showing that over the previous 5 years. So you can see that those state revenues increased a bit this year. Again, that's just due to your increase in general ed aid and your special ed aid and those new revenue sources, and then along with the student meals being free. And then you can see federal peaked over the past few years, and that's just with your COVID funding. So as Mary mentioned, those ESSER dollars are going to be spent, and we expect to see those federal expenses decrease over the next few years as the COVID money drops off. Okay, then moving on to the next slide. So this is a graph showing the breakout of expenditures by category for fiscal year 24. So regular instruction is going to be your largest bucket of expenses at about 39%, and then your special ed is about 12%. Again, these are both consistent for the previous years, and then this is what we expect to see overall with the district, with the majority of expenses being spent on your regular instruction. Then moving on to the next slide. So these are going to be the expenses broken out over the past 5 years. So you can see overall that expenses are trending upwards in most categories, and that's just due to inflation and those cost of living adjustments. You can see that there's a spike in 2022 for most categories. So for example, regular instruction, and so that was just some additional stipends that were paid out to faculty, and then there were some additional technology purchases that were made that year with the emergency connectivity funding. So that was a federal grant that was unique for that year. Then moving on to the next slide.
Perfect. I'll go through your average daily memberships, which drives your funding as it comes in. Here you can see that actually in 2024, you did increase your student count. I can say that you're about one of my 10% of districts that increased. Most of them actually did decrease throughout the year. And then what you want to know is your kindergarten and others, which is ECFE and such, actually increased as well. A significant portion of my districts actually decreased in that category. So the next slide, we just like to show the districts enrollment gain or loss. So the resident students that stay versus those that get served elsewhere, and then the non-resident students actually coming in. So you can see the light blue is residents served elsewhere at 219, but actually down from previous years, and then lowest it's been in 5 years. And then non-resident students coming in was up to 26, and actually better than the last 5 years as well. So your net loss is about 194 students. So then the next page, we like to show, okay, what does it cost per weighted average daily membership? Again, your high schoolers are getting 1.2, the rest are just the 1-to-1 ratio. So here you can see expenditures for all funds stayed pretty similar to prior year. And along with the general fund as well, went up slightly. In the next slide, we'd like then to show you your revenues for weighted average daily membership. Here you can see that state total actually went up quite a bit due to all that additional funding that was received, which caused a slight decrease in your levy. So that last page is just our contact information. That was a brief overview. I didn't know if there are any follow-up questions.
I just think that we are doing a lot better than we expected.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We had a lot of conversation about a year ago, and we were
I would
very
agree.
worried.
I
So
would agree.
thank goodness.
Yes, I agree. And again, most of my school districts are not where you're at currently. So I would agree you are doing and looking much better than you have in the past as well.
Excellent. Great news.
Nice to hear.
Are you there?
Yes.
Any additional questions? Okay, we're good on our end.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we don't know why this is correct.
Jason, we just need to get set. You can share your screen and we'll get started right at 6 o'clock for you.
That sounds great. Thank you, Beth.
Yep.
Okay, we have 4 minutes. Is there, can we do anything off the agenda in 4 minutes?
We'll start with you at 6. I'm going to just give a quick, brief presentation.
Okay.
We'll attempt to do this in less than 4 minutes. First and foremost, I just wanted, I think all of you know, Falls Education Foundation and Purple Pride have awarded ISD 361 just over $85,000 worth of grants that were applied for by our district staff. One of the highlights in the award that we've received is for our school safety plan that we're implementing as we get ready for the new year to finalize everything. They ended up awarding over $20,000 to our safety grant that I applied for, and I will be inviting them to our January meeting because they have provided us with something that we wouldn't have been able to do this year, and I'll tell you more about that in January. We're very excited and we're very grateful to FEF and Purple Pride, so thank you. We are in the process of continuing our work for facilities and construction design for the referendum. We continuously meet 1 to 2 times a month with our team from Nexus and our architects, in addition to our focus groups from International Falls. Right now, the drawings are at about 99% for the stadium. So in late spring, early summer, we will start construction on that when we get to our landmark goal, but we are getting very close. We'll apply for the permit for that in January. Right now, the high school is at about 50%. They are about 50% in the specs for the drawing. We're going to continue to work on that. By the end of January, we should be at about 75% for the high school. We're going to revisit the budget to make sure we're on target with our budget and our priority list. Then in our third focus area will be on the elementary and the arena. We are still meeting on construction areas. Elementary has some big projects within it, which is one being building around the new elevator to make sure that we're ADA compliant. So I'll have more updates on this as we finalize our next set of meetings in the new year. As you know, aging buildings continue to hit us with ongoing maintenance continuing to happen. As you know, we had our little emergency on Friday. Local businesses, families, and staff members really rallied around that pipe break. And I just want to extend my thanks to the staff. Local businesses within the community ended up showing up at our school without even being called. We had just a number of people that really showed up to help and see what they needed to do to help support our transition of students, in addition to what we needed to have done on site. It was really quite remarkable to see. As always, we'll reflect and see where we can do better and how things could have gone smoother, but overall it went very well. Next, I would like to just tell you that we have our January 3rd district-wide PD. And on that day, we're going to finish phase 2 of the ALICE training for Falls Elementary School. That's where we're going to train all of the Falls Elementary staff. Then we'll finish phase 3 with training their students in the end of January. We finalized phase 3 training at Falls High School with our students in our classrooms last Friday. Things went very well. We had Mrs. Hammer's class make a barricade video that we could show the students. So our very own students modeled it, in addition to our staff and our students collectively practiced for an hour. They did a PowerPoint. They went back and reviewed the acronym, what it means about the decision-making process, really focusing on situational awareness and making choices based on the information you have. Mrs. West prepared her staff very well, and it really went quite smoothly. So I really appreciate the time and effort by our leaders, in addition to our staff, and working with our students on a really sensitive topic. Facilities restructuring, we're still working on our MOU. We'll look a little bit closer at that at our January 6th meeting. I am also going to be proposing in January. We have hired Brennan Barris as our new American Indian Ojibwe teacher, so he will be transitioning into his new role in January. Tom Mullen will be retiring. So I will be proposing a new structure for restructuring Indian education and proposing a director of Indian education and equity, which would be 100% funded through the Indian education grant. So we're really excited about that possible expansion and doing more in the work of equity and supporting our American Indian students within the school district. Last but not least, as you know, we have hired for the year a grant writer, and I just want you to know that we have a number of grants that we've submitted under $5,000. But most recently, we have hit the submit button for a Restorative Practices Initiatives grant for around $200,000, really looking at the behavior, social emotional needs, and having restorative practice trained staff within our building, in addition to a possible SRO who's restorative practices trained. We'll know more about if we receive that grant in the new year. We're currently working, Ms. Hall is currently working on a Minnesota Multi-Purpose Community Facilities project. This awarded grant is up to $500,000. And what we are doing is we're looking at areas that did not qualify for the referendum that we had to take out of the list. And we are looking at creating an innovation center and updating for 21st century learning for our kids. So when you talk about coding and you talk about that skill set for being digital citizens and being online, we're really looking at renovating this area with new technology and coursework that in a space that students can use that's really about 21st century learning. We had a team of local contractors come out and talk to us about what that could look like in creating an innovation center. Many school districts across Minnesota have them to support being ready, whether it's trade or college, when they exit the walls of the high school. And that grant will be submitted right around January 3rd. They are looking for rural school districts. We have a very big opportunity to receive this grant. We're very excited about the 2 grants that we've submitted, and hopefully we have a positive message to share in the future in one or both of those.
That's amazing.
Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Beth. We are now going to pause our meeting and go into the Truth in Taxation meeting,
Jason, we're good to go.
or presentation, I mean.
Excellent. Do you see my presentation?
Yes.
Sounds good. Well, good evening, school board. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Jason Lutzberger, serving as your business manager through CISO, the Center for Effective School Operations. And tonight, we're here to present the Truth in Taxation presentation for taxes payable in calendar year 2025. Later this evening, the school board will be asked to approve the levy based on the information provided in this report. The state statute requires that the school board certify the levy each year. We're required to do so between November 25th and December 30th. There are certain requirements that we need to meet. One is that it needs to be at 6 p.m. or later so the public can attend. It may be part of a regularly scheduled meeting, which we're doing tonight. We must allow for public comment regarding taxation, which we'll do at the end, and then we may adopt the final levy at the same meeting, which we're hoping the board does. The presentation also needs to include the current year budget, along with the proposed property tax levy. And so we'll go through these items within the next few slides. Here's our hearing agenda. We're going to go through some background information on school funding just to explain why there's a need for property taxes. We'll talk briefly about the district's budget at a high level, mainly focused on the general fund, or our main operating fund. We'll talk through the district proposed tax levy for payable 2025 and a few of the changes that we're seeing, and then ask for public comment from our community.
Jason, you need to put your screen in slideshow because it's not advancing as you're speaking from your end.
I understand.
There you go. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, slide 4. The general education formula allowance is really the main reason why we need a local property tax levy. The Gen Ed formula is our main source of revenue from the state. We know we receive 70 to 80% of our annual revenue from the state. The blue line on the chart represents where the state formula allowance would be had it kept up with inflation over the years. The red line shows what we're actually receiving in that dotted line. And you can see on the far right side, the chart has a fairly large gap, and we continue to see that gap widen. And that's with historic funding in place from the legislature here in recent years. That's one of the main reasons why we continue to have a need for a property tax levy within our communities. The other reason, or one of the other reasons, is really the underfunding of special education. We know that special education funds or expenses have increased significantly in recent years. In fiscal year 23, the cost of providing programs were underfunded by the state by almost $726 million. The state did infuse a significant amount of money in this last legislative session into special education, yet we continue to have a $455 million statewide underfunded gap. And so that requires us to lean more onto our property taxes to continue to support our general fund. We are required to present on our budget information. The school district does have a number of different funds that we keep track of our revenues and expenses. Our district funds are our general fund, food service, community service, debt service, and we have a custodial or a trust fund. We're going to focus solely on the general fund, which is the main operating fund for the district. In fiscal year 2025, so our current fiscal year, our general fund revenue budget is about $13.6 million. Of that, 77%, or just under $10.5 million, comes from the state. About 18%, or $2.5 million, comes through property taxes, 4% through federal grants, and then we've got a small amount of other or local fees and interest revenue that we collect. From the general fund expenditure side, we're anticipating spending about $14.6 million in expenses. The large portion of that is for our employees, about nearly $11 million, or 75% of the total general fund budget goes to our staff. We also have a large portion of purchase services, about $1.7 million. We have some capital expenditures of about $1 million. Supplies and materials account for about $1 million as well. And then a small miscellaneous or other category. Next, we'll talk briefly about our property tax levy and how it compares to the prior year. So school district property taxes were required, or were allowed as a school district to levy taxes, and we're able to do so in about 40 different categories. There's a maximum amount that we can levy, which is calculated by the Minnesota Department of Education for each category. Those amounts are set by either state law or by voter approval. We do have a property tax process in place. There are key steps in the process on the next slide, which detail out the steps that we've taken to get to this point. September 8th is when the Minnesota Department of Education distributed the first levy report. September 17th, the school board approved the proposed levy. That was our preliminary levy, we often call it. In mid-November, the county mails out the property tax statements to all property owners. December 16th, tonight, is our public hearing. And then following the hearing, the board will be asked to certify those levy amounts. So what's in our proposed tax levy? Tonight we're proposing payable 2025 taxes increased from 2024 by just under $1.4 million, or 46%. That's a significant increase. We're going to talk about that here in the next slides. First, I want to show you the overall picture. There's a lot of numbers on this slide. This gives you a line item view of how the tax levy compares in 2025 compared to 2024. You can see the dollar changes and the percentage changes. Just a couple of things I want to highlight on this slide. On line 12 is our general fund levy, which is decreasing by 2.29%. On line 18, our community service levy is increasing by 21%. And the major changes on line 24 are debt service levy, which is going up by 347%. We'll talk about that here in the next two slides. The first change that we have it impacts the general fund and the debt service fund, and that's a change to our long-term facilities maintenance. In the general fund, we have a decrease of $230,000. We know that long-term facility maintenance is used to pay for deferred facility maintenance and health and safety costs. What the district has chosen to do is to utilize these funds for a number of our deferred maintenance projects and essentially borrow future funds in order to make a bigger impact in combination with the referendum dollars that we just had approved by the team. And so there's a decrease in the general fund, but there's an increase on our debt service fund. That's one of those impacts on debt service. The other one is due to the voter-approved bond referendum back in August. That's increasing debt service by about $1.16 million. Those are going to pay for those site repairs, the safety and security enhancements, learning space updates, ice arena updates, stadium updates, and locker rooms as well. And so the combination of those long-term facility maintenance dollars, along with the bond referendum dollars, are going to accomplish a whole host of projects within the district. And that's really the main reason for the increase in the taxes this year. There are a number of factors that do impact individual taxpayers' taxes. The largest one is a change in value of their individual property. And so on their property tax statement, it's important to look at how's your home value changing in price or value, and that's going to be the biggest driver and impact to your property taxes. Also, other factors include changes in total value of all property within the district, and then certainly any increases that we have within our school district levy, along with the other taxing jurisdictions such as the city. There are a number of different property tax refunds and deferral options for individual taxpayers. There's a homestead credit refund, a special property tax refund, and a senior citizen property tax deferral option. And so if there are any community members that would be interested in looking further into these, I'm happy to have a conversation with them, and they can reach out to me through our website where we have our contact information. Next steps for this evening, the board accepts any public comments on the proposed levy, and then later tonight we'll ask for the board to certify that tax levy amount. And so at this time I would turn it back to the board chair to go ahead and ask for any public comment if there's anybody for this evening.
Okay. Make sure I'm on here. Okay, I will now ask for any public comments. I don't even see the public here, so, and I guess we don't have any. So now I will move straight to approving the 24, pay 25, fiscal year 26 levy in the amount of $4,408,079.53. May I have a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And now we have to resume our agenda from previously. Thank you very much, Jason.
Thanks, Jason. Jason, do you need anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, Beth, you completed your report, right?
Yes.
Okay, and now on the consent agenda, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll move. I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are now down to the action items. Under the concept of improving systems and structures to create a culture where all are welcomed and supported, I'm going to grab my...
Did we just approve the rental fees
Yeah,
as part of the consent agenda?
Yeah, the consent agenda, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Number 5.
10.
Yes. So do we need a motion to remove number 5 from that consent agenda?
Why are we doing that?
There was some earlier discussion where...
I have not heard anything. Do you know anything
where others
about
wanted to discuss more. I don't know.
Yeah, discuss more and find out a little bit more information before.
Okay,
we
so
do
you want to remove that?
Yeah.
Okay, I never knew that. So there is a motion to a motion to remove item number 5 off the consent agenda. And are you saying that you want to discuss it more, or do you want to wait until a future meeting?
I think we want to table it and
You want
discuss
to
it
table?
further.
Okay, go ahead and say that, your
Yep.
motion.
My motion's to table it and discuss it further another time.
Okay, so you have a motion to table the approval of the new athletic facilities rental fees effective January 1st, 2025. All those in favor? I'm sorry, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
Why?
There was emails and texts going back and forth today, and I just think we need more information. Like, what are people currently paying? Are some people paying flat fees? And is this going to be an hourly fee? We also had conversations about, is this just the summer rental program? Because we know that's where it went from 70 to 100. There's a lot of conversations around it. We just wanted more information before we approve it.
Yeah, because is this, like the rental space, is this going to affect groups that are renting right now? Because it's the middle of their season, so if they haven't budgeted for this increase, are we just saying, okay, now in the middle of your season, we're going to increase it? So who exactly does this entail, and what groups are affected by it, and should it be after their season so they can plan for the next season, or how does this all
Shake out.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a motion. Do we have
Can I
a?
ask?
Sure.
Beth, how did you investigate this situation?
So Mr. Ringhofer and I looked at the fees because we are not competitive with what some of the other school districts are charging. So we pulled the last documentation that Mr. Ringhofer had. It was from 2007. And it was just time to revisit some of the costs that we're incurring as a school district that lives approximately 1.5 to 2 hours away. Transportation costs continue to increase. Student enrollment and the players on our teams do decrease. And though I respectfully know that the last thing we want to do is add more cost, the increase is small. But we have to continue to expand what we're doing to keep up with facilities maintenance and the hiring of people that we have to have supervise these locations. I'm totally open and support if you want to have additional conversation regarding who we're charging and how and why. And I know Mr. Ringhofer would welcome that conversation, and if it's something you want to revisit for the next school year, I can support that, but we have to continue to look at our policies and our procedures as they need to be more current and reflect the practices of today.
Thank you.
Okay, so we had a motion. Did we get a second? Okay.
Can I just say one other thing regarding
Sure.
this? I just want everyone to understand what this means, because Joanne and I had a really good conversation about it today too. So it's not our Bronco teams that pay ourselves to rent space, right? It's like the figure skating club that uses the arena. They pay. Rec hockey when they use the arena. JO volleyball when they want to rent the gym. People that want to have birthday parties at the pool. That's the kind of stuff it's going to impact. Just so we're all on the same page and thinking the same way.
And I would even like to add that ISD 361 is not a school district that charges even for the cafeteria use. We are an anomaly in what we charge our community for. Went through a number of handbooks across the state, and people charge from classroom use to cafeteria use, and that's just not something we have done. And I know it's hard, it's a hard conversation, and I empathize with that, but we are also working out of buildings that were built in 1960, and we are trying really hard. Every week we have costs because of our aging facilities and trying to keep maintenance up to date. And the last one that Mr. Ringhofer does have on record is from 2007.
So it's time to revisit it.
It's time to revisit
It's definitely
That, and I mean, should we be looking at renting out, like if it's the cafeteria or if it's a classroom? I mean,
Yep. And so some of the districts that we looked at had different tiers, for example. So if you're a Bronco versus a community member. And so I think that's something we could absolutely take a look at. It is just time to revisit it.
I think it might help too if Tim could provide some comparables.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see.
So, I don't know, might help.
Yeah.
Do we know if we're losing money or making money? We're losing.
I don't think we're losing money per se, but we're not taking advantage of the opportunities that there are. Let's say it that way.
Yeah, and I would just say that we are going to be committed to providing activities and athletics, but we are not making money in that programming. Our transportation costs have risen exponentially, and again, that's something that we need to extend our gratitude to Purple Pride. They got behind our athletics this year. They provided a lot of new items that were essential to the construction, for example, of our pool and our transportation costs. So, without programs that get behind us like that, we would be in a very serious situation. And so we have to really recognize what our community does for us. But we have a declining enrollment, and it directly impacts our bottom line.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay. We had a motion, we had a second, and all those in favor to table item number 5?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. So now I wonder if we have to redo this, approve the consent agenda without item number 5. And
I would say yes.
Pardon?
I would say we probably do.
So let's back up and have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the exception of removing item number 5.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we're down on action items under the concept of improving systems and structures to create a culture where all are welcomed and supported. May I have a motion for the resolution of acceptance of gifts and donations?
I'll motion.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second.
Okay, now I'm going to read it. Whereas School Board Policy 706 establishes the guidelines for the acceptance of gifts or donations to the district, whereas the International Falls District School Board encourages the support of the district's educational programs through gifts or donations that meet the goals and objectives of the school district. Whereas Minnesota Statute 465.03 states the school board may accept a gift, grant, or devise of real or personal property only by the adoption of a resolution approved by 2/3 of its members. Therefore, be it resolved, the school board of ISD International Falls Public Schools ISD 361 accepts with appreciation the following gifts, donations, or grants received by the school district. PCA for Falls High School Leadership Conference Transportation, $150. Rose Simpson Band Donation in memory of Richard Brown, $75. Amber Howe Junior High Basketball Jersey, $700. Bronco Swim Boosters, swimsuits and charter bus, $3,151. Bronco Volleyball Boosters, extra game plates, $650. Bronco Golf Boosters for golf balls, $217.40. Susan and Stuart Nordquist for the Bronco Hall of Fame, $1,000. Falls Education Foundation, FES and FHS Athletics and Activities. FES and FHS was $7,597.46, and Athletics and Activities was $3,603.19. Arena Scoreboard Sponsorship, Up North Builders, $1,500. Falls Lumber, $1,000. TrueStar, $1,000. Minnesota Power, $1,000. Shannon's, $500. Border Chevrolet, $500. Rainy Lake Medical Center, $500. Tilson Bay Company, $500. Hasbargen Customs, $500. Midco, $500. Northern Lumberyard, $500. Okay, now, I forgot where it was, so we had the motion, the second. Is there any more discussion about this resolution? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now we are on That was 1A, and now under item 1B of the action items, approve starting an adapted bowling team with a coach salary of $3,345. May I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion?
Where does the money come from?
So what we have opted to do is we will be applying the Falls Education Foundation in their spring grant run. Also, we're looking for community sponsors because the dollar amount is so small. But we feel that it's an important program to offer for our students.
Yep, I agree.
Yep.
I just wanted to know where the money was coming from.
Mr. Ringhofer and I are actively seeking the support for that, and we feel very confident that that will happen.
I believe so too.
And I also
sure.
talked with Beth today about the fact that we probably not only need the coach, we need to have an assistant or two, so they're going to look at that whole package of what we're going to need and see what kind of funding we can get.
Yep, we're going to see how the success
Yeah.
unfolds this year and revisit it for next year.
Absolutely.
How do you come up with
We also
this?
have transportation costs too, right?
I would assume there's some
Yep,
transportation.
very
yeah.
minimal because it is at our own bowling alley.
Isn't there a tournament or something out of town,
Yeah.
I think?
Only one.
One,
Yep.
okay. All righty,
Good.
okay.
And
Any-
so, Joanne, you asked a question?
How did we come up with the coach's salary?
So Mr. Ringhofer called and pooled other school districts on what the approximate cost was, and that's the price. All in that ballpark area of $3,500.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. May I have a motion for adjournment?
No.
No, not
Did I
adjourned.
miss something? What did I miss?
Ellers, right?
What did I miss?
This one. Do we have a presentation?
Yeah,
Ellers?
under presentation.
Bottom
We
of
did the
first page.
presentation.
Bottom of the first page.
Yeah.
First page of your agenda.
Do you want,
On that first page, on the bottom.
Right here.
oh,
We have to go back because we stopped for the food and taxation.
Yeah,
okay,
So Jen
so,
Chapman is here with us.
sorry, Jen.
you were getting nervous, I bet, weren't you? Okay, so we've got a report by Ellers. Okay, sorry, go ahead, Jen.
You should all have a pre-sale report in your packet if you would like to grab that. Yeah, it should say pre-sale report for your district, and it looks. Did everyone find the pre-sale report?
Yep.
All right, so I'll just walk through this report high level and touch base on some things and really dig into the timeline for you as we move forward. So this report is for the issuance of the school building bonds and facilities maintenance bonds series 2025A. So this would be from the referendum, and also some facilities maintenance projects that you will be deferred maintenance projects that are separate. So it's a two-purpose issuance. If we look at the first page here, again, I just went through the proposed issue and the purpose. It includes that financing of acquisition and betterment of school sites and facilities that were authorized by the district voters, and then also includes deferred maintenance projects, as I had mentioned, that were included in your 10-year facilities maintenance plan, which was approved by the Minnesota Department of Education as well. The bonds are going to be issued for a 20-year term, and that will it will start February 1st, and it'll go through the years 2026 through 2045. The bonds will be callable, and what that means, usually about 8 to 9 years out. In your case, on February 1, 2033, you will have an opportunity to take a look at interest rates at that time and decide whether or not, if interest rates are lower, you could refinance at that point in time. And so at about 8 years, you'll be able to look at that. February 1, 2033 for any of the bonds maturing February 1, 2034 and forward and later. The bonds will be rated as well. In fact, tomorrow we're going to take a look at the official statement, which has all of the district's information, financial information in it for underwriters. We're going to take a look at that. We'll be prepping for the rating call, which will be later on at the end of the week. And what that means is you will have a credit rating. You'll actually have 2 ratings. You will go through the state credit enhancement program, and what that means then is you get their rating. So you're going to get a AAA rating, and that's what the underwriters will see for your rating. And then in addition to that, you'll have an underlying rating as well, which is the rating of the district. You currently have an A underlying rating on the bonds that are outstanding, and so that you will now request a new underlying rating for these bonds. And so we'll prepare for that, and that call is later on this week. Let's see, I'll skip through to page 3. We reviewed your existing debt. We've taken a look at that. You will be required to do some continuing disclosure. Really what that means is you will just put your financial information out on a website that is provided for all underwriters, just to stay abreast of what's going on with your district, to make sure you're still financially sound as time moves on. And you do contract with Ellers for that service already, and so we work together with you to gather your documents and provide them where they need to be for underwriters. So we'll do that moving forward. You will be investing the bond proceeds, so we're working together with you to come up with a strategy, the best strategy for the district to invest the bond proceeds, and that includes making sure that we take into account any local interest. So we will work together with the district to see if there's any local interest out there, and then also come up with the best strategy. All right, and then now we'll just kind of go through the debt issuance schedule and the timeline. That's on page 5. Back in September, the school board, you all approved the resolution authorizing the sale of these bonds. I'm here tonight. There's no action needed, just here to present the report for you so that you kind of have an idea of what to expect. Tomorrow we will have that due diligence call that I mentioned, and we will prep for the rating call. Friday is the rating call. And then December 26th will be when the official statement, so that's what we're kind of going to go through tomorrow and make sure that's correct, that will be put out to the market for underwriters to take a look at and decide whether or not they want to bid on your bonds. And then on January 7th, those bids will come in the morning. The sale time is 10 a.m., so all of those bids are required to come in. We will be communicating on that day with the district to make sure you know who signed up, how many bidders there are, what to expect, and then who ultimately will be the winning bidder on that. January 7th is going to be a special meeting for the board, so that does need to be posted, and then you'll need to have a quorum that night in order to get the award of the sale accomplished. And then the estimated closing date is January 30th, so that'll be the next important date, and that's when the bond proceeds will be available for your projects. Yeah, it's exciting, right? And then we have our contact information here too, and then I'll just walk through these attachments very quickly for you. They're all estimated at this point in time, and they include cushion. They're very conservative, just because the interest rates do fluctuate, so we do have some cushion built in at this time. So the first attachment is the estimated sources and uses of the funds. You can see the authorized amounts at the top, the estimated project costs, the term of the bonds, and then you can see kind of how the sources and uses are worked out there. Right at this time, we have a very conservative estimate for your investment earnings as well, and that will be something that we work together with the district to come up with a strategy and also keep you informed as time goes on with the investment earnings piece of it. But you can see the net available for the project costs is enough to fund the estimated project costs at this time. And then we have we have 3 schedules that will come up next. The first schedule is issue summary, which means it includes both the school building bonds and the facilities maintenance bonds. So it's the entire bond schedule for you. And it shows you the dates that the principal and interest payments will be due. And again, this is all estimated at this point, but just so you can see how the schedule works moving forward. And then they are broken out between the school building bond portion and then the facilities maintenance portion. And then we like to put together some visuals for you also. So you'll first look at the school building bond portion, You'll see your existing commitments on this chart, and the existing tax rate is in the middle column. And then as you move over to the right, you'll see the proposed new school building bonds coming on. And then at the last column, you'll see the tax rate. Then, as again, estimated at this point in time, but kind of what we're expecting with some cushion built in, what it looks like when your new school building bonds come on. And then the next page has a visual of that. It just shows your existing commitments in those gray bars, and then it shows the new voter-approved school building bonds coming on and laying on top. And so it's wrapped around your existing debt too, and that provides some relief for your property tax owners also. And then once the existing debt has fallen off, then you can see the new voter-approved debt increases, and you pay off more principal at that point in time out through the end of the term of the bonds. And then we also have the facilities maintenance bond portion laid out for you. You can see that the district receives a certain amount of LTFM revenue, and that's listed. That's also an estimate because it's based upon a few different things, pupils, and also your building age and things like that. You do receive some aid, so then you can see the tax levy off to the left. In the middle, the new bonds coming on. Or I'm sorry, you had some existing facilities maintenance bonds. Those are there first. And then the new bonds coming on and going out the 20 years. And then I'll just point the general fund revenue remaining is that last column. So you can see what you have left in your facilities maintenance, deferred maintenance program. Did you have any questions?
Anybody? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Okay, so now, does anyone note if I've missed anything else other than adjournment? Sorry, does anybody know if I've missed anything else other than adjournment?
I don't think
No.
so.
Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, we did that.
I'll move.
Second? Could I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried, we're adjourned, thank you.